I eat pretty well most of the time. If that sentence just ran through your head, congratulations. You're in the overwhelming majority of Americans who believe their own diet is at least somewhat healthy. But here's where it gets controversial. What if that confidence is masking blind spots that could quietly undermine both our waistlines and our trust in the food system? Gallup's latest consumption habits survey, conducted July 7th to 21st, paints a fascinating portrait of a nation that feels personally virtuous, yet collectively uneasy. Let's unpack the numbers and the emotions behind what we put on our plates. Americans give themselves a B+ on diet quality. Roughly 1 in 4 U.S. adults, 24%, award themselves an A+, calling their diet very healthy. Another 60% hand out a solid B, labeling it somewhat healthy. Add those together and 84% of us think we're doing at least okay. That figure has barely budged since Gallup started asking the question in 2001, suggesting a remarkably stable self-image. But, and this is the part most people miss, self-grades climb steeply with education and income. Among adults who stopped at high school, 78% say they eat healthfully. That share jumps to 90% among people with postgraduate degrees. The income gap is just as stark. 73% of households earning under $50,000 give themselves passing marks, compared with 91% of households earning 6 figures or more. Women, 88%, also outscore men, 81%. And if you're over 50, you're statistically more likely to claim the moral high ground on kale and quinoa than your younger peers. Label reading nation. 75% of us scan the fine print, flip any cereal box in America, and odds are high someone in the household has studied the nutrition panel. 1/3 of adults say they pay a great deal of attention to those labels, and another 42% give them a fair amount of scrutiny. Only 24% admit they rarely or never glance at the numbers. Women again lead the charge, 81% versus 70% of men. Education and income predict attentiveness too. 84% of postgraduates and 80% of high earners read labels, while just 67% of high school-only adults and 65% of lower-income shoppers do. Perhaps unsurprisingly, people who already claim a very healthy diet are the most obsessive label readers, 88%, while those who admit their diet is not healthy largely tune out, 49%. What exactly are we hunting for? For the first time, Gallup asked. Sugar tops the list, 47%, followed by calories, 37%. Carbs, protein, fat, and the vague catch-all ingredients each capture roughly 1 in 7 label detectives. Sodium, salt, added dyes, and artificial chemicals bring up the rear. Yet those are precisely the additives some watchdog groups argue deserve far more attention. Food warnings. 60% of us are listening. Beyond the fine print, 6 in 10 Americans say they heed broader food warnings and nutritional recommendations. 1/4 pay a lot of attention, and 35% a fair amount. The remaining 40% either skim the headlines or ignore them entirely. The gender and education patterns repeat. 68% of women versus 51% of men stay alert to warnings. Postgraduates, 68%. College grads, 63%. And those with some college, 64%, outpace high school-only adults, 50%. Income matters too. 65% of middle and upper-income households tune in, versus 52% of lower-income households. And again, the very healthy eaters are twice as likely to listen up, 74%, compared with those who rate their diet as poor, 31%. Grocery store food, still trusted, but the edge is dulling. When we wheel our carts down the supermarket aisle, 73% of us feel at least somewhat confident that the food is safe to eat. That's statistically unchanged from last year, but down from 81% in 2019. Dig deeper, and the very confident share has slipped 7 points since 2019, suggesting a subtle erosion of trust. Government oversight. Confidence hits a record low. Here's the headline that should make every policymaker squirm. Only 53% of Americans now trust the federal government to keep the food supply safe. That's a fresh low, down from 68% in 2019. The decline isn't new. Confidence slid during the 2007 Salmonella scare and never fully recovered. But the latest drop is the steepest yet. But here's where it gets controversial. The collapse is almost entirely partisan. Democratic confidence plunged from 74% to 48% after the transition from a Biden to a Trump administration. Republican confidence, meanwhile, jumped 12 points to 62%. Independents stayed flat at 52%. Translation: our feelings about food safety may hinge less on what's actually on our plates and more on who sits in the Oval Office. Interestingly, the partisan pattern flips when the question turns to grocery store safety. Democrats express the highest confidence, 80%. Independents land in the middle, 70%, and Republicans trail, 67%. The takeaway: trust is situational, and politics flavors everything, even lettuce. What this all means and why you should care. Americans are confident in their personal choices, diligent about reading labels, and increasingly skeptical of the system meant to protect them. That creates a paradox. We believe we're eating well, yet we're not sure anyone has our back if something goes wrong. So, dear reader, over to you. Do you trust the food on your supermarket shelf? Do you think label reading is enough, or should we demand stricter oversight? And is the partisan swing in confidence proof that food safety has become just another political football? Drop your hot takes below. Agree, disagree, or roast us in the comments. Let's chew the fat together. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and maybe, just maybe, double-check that ingredient list one more time before dinner tonight.